Hi, welcome to my first video of Ruth Tillman Designs. I'm going to be taking you through the basics of crochet today. We're going to start with how to even hold our yarn properly and go all the way through to single crochet stitching. I just wanted to touch base on yarns first. This is a ball of yarn. This is a skein of yarn. I like to use cotton yarns. There's different types of yarns. There's acrylic yarn, which is the most common. It's also the most affordable. There's wool yarn, beautiful wool yarns. But I like to start with cotton yarn. It has a good hand to it, and the sugar and cream line makes this great changing yarn, and that's my favorite to start with. So we're going to start with this one. This is actually called Moon Dance by Sugar and Cream, Lily's Sugar and Cream, and the skein allows you to pull out from the middle. So we're going to find our yarn in the middle, and we're going to pull out from the middle, and we're going to start that way. Let me go through the hooks. We have some hooks here. I like to start my beginners out with either a G, H, or an I hook. These are this is a standard aluminum hook, and then these are my favorite hooks, which is a wooden hook. It's a teak, and it's a hard wooden hook, and it has a nice point to it. So we're going to start with an H hook right here. That's the size of the hook. And we're going to use our cotton yarn here. The changing yarn will help you be able to see your stitches better as you are learning to look at what the stitches look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a slip knot. So I'm going to take my fingers and wrap around and cross over with my yarn. I'm going to take my hook, go through the middle of my fingers, grab that yarn and pull through onto my hook, and then I'm going to hold it and pull through. That creates a slip knot. Okay, so that knot you can open up and close at different widths or different rounds. So let's try that again. Again, we're going to take it, cross over. Okay, we're going to go around. Oops, let's try that again. Take it, cross over, go through, pull through, and pull onto the knot, and then slip it up. You want your yarn to be able to flow freely onto your hook so that you have control. Okay, so the next step is to how we hold our hook. A lot of people hold it like a pencil, and some people hold it like this. I prefer to hold it like this, mainly because with the pencil you have some control, but I feel like I have a better control with my pointer finger on my hook. And I like to use that control to control the yarn that's on my hook at the time. So this is how I prefer to use it. There's no right or wrong method. So please try different holds to see what's more comfortable for you. Now there's a second hold we're going to use on our other hand, and that is the hold for tension. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our hand face up towards us. We're going to bring the yarn from back to front. We're going to turn our hand all the way around. We're going to put our pointer finger under the yarn. We're going to turn it sideways, and we're going to pinch. Now we're always going to be pinching with our thumb and our middle finger. This is going to feel odd. We're taught growing up that we pinch and pick things up with our pointer finger and our thumb. In crochet, you're going to pinch with your thumb and your middle finger. You want a nice tight pinch so you have control. This gives control of the yarn. It also gives you control of your tension, and your pointer finger is always going to point up into the air. I always tell my kids and my students, up in the air. Don't forget to point up into the air. So there's two different ways, either front to back or back to front, turn, under, pinch. This creates a nice little area for those of you who hold your yarn tight. I don't hold my yarn tight, so I need a little extra tension. So I like to go from front to back, turn, under, and pinch. And that creates a little loop on your pinky, which helps you hold it tighter. So now that we have our yarn, our hold, let's start chaining. Chaining is our foundation stitch. And we're going to be chaining probably about 17 stitches or so. Again, I'm going to hold my yarn like this. And what we want to do is we want to go we want to take our hook, put it in front of the yarn, hook over, pull it through the loop, and as we're pulling it through the loop, point that hook down. So you always have the hook facing you, and we're going to go in front, through, and point it facing down. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm simultaneously using my finger here. And this is where this pointer finger is very helpful, and this is why we point our pointer finger in the air. So I'm going to go in front, and as I'm bringing it down, I'm also bringing my pointer finger on my left hand down and pointing it through. And then when I'm pulling it up, what I'm doing is I'm pulling up the more yarn to give myself more yarn. The other thing I'm doing is I'm pinching at the hook every time. I'm not pinching down here. If you try to pinch down here, you don't have control. The whole idea of holding your yarn like this is to have control. So I want to point and then re-pinch here. So let's do this a few more times. What we're going to do is we're going to do a bunch of, we're going to do quite a few. I would recommend, if this is your first time crocheting, to crochet the whole entire ball of yarn. This will help you perfect your tension. It perfects your hold. It perfects it essentially trains your brain how to hold your yarn properly, and then you're not going to be frustrated with the rest of crocheting. Once you get past that hold, you're going to be able to crochet with ease. All right, so let's do this. So now we have a chain. The chain looks just like a little necklace chain. So we have our chain that has loops, and then the back side has little bumps. There are different ways to go into the chain when we're crocheting. And some people go into the back side with the little loops that are back here. Okay. Some people actually go into the front and do both loops at once. So both sides of the chain with the back side on the bottom. I prefer to do on the top of one of the loops or the little bumps that are up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my single crochet. We're going to go into our first chain, so we're going to hold it, pinch it, pull our thumb back, and we're going to go into our first loop. We're going to use the point of our hook to go in, and we're going to yarn over and pull through that loop. We're going to stop, and we're going to pinch that pinch underneath the hook, and we have now 2 loops. Now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through both loops at this point. That creates our single crochet. Let's try that again. So I'm going to hold it, I'm going to pull my thumb back, I'm going to see my next loop. This is the loop that my crochet is in. Here's my next loop over. I'm going to stick it in, yarn over, pull it through without moving any of my fingers on my left hand. Now I'm going to re-pinch underneath my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops. Now, a common mistake that beginning crocheters make is to do what's called a slip stitch. This stitch is not a good stitch for you because it's not going to allow you to be able to crochet easily within it. It's a stitch that we'll be needing probably in other types of crochet, but this, for beginning crochet, it's not needed. So this is what a common mistake that beginning crocheters make, and that is to go through the loop, to pull through the bump on the chain, and then just pull through the loop that's on their hook. That's a slip stitch. You don't want to do that. You always want to be able to pull through 2 loops. So we're going to create a loop by pulling through the bump, stop, and pull through both loops. This is where the changing color yarn helps, because when you're in the bump, you know you're not supposed to pull through that. You're supposed to stop and pull through a second time. So let's finish this row so that we can take you to another row. Okay. And we'll count our stitches and figure out how many stitches we have in this row. And you can see that once you learn your tension, the tension really helps. And I'm also holding the loop with my pointer finger as I'm pushing through. That helps a lot as well. Let's finish these last few. I am now just finishing the end of this crochet. Here's the last one. Don't forget your last chain. You'll always want to remember that. All right, so now we're at the end of our crochet stitches. So let's look at that. So it's going to be hard to see these, but we have V's here, and those V's, 1, 2, is a stitch. You can also see on the edge, it creates a little hole to put our chain, put our hook in. So let's turn our work. So to turn our work, once we're at the end of any row, we chain 1, and then we flip the work and turn it. So now we're going to go through our V. We're going to go in the hole, catch both sides of the V this time. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through. We have our 2 loops again. Grab our yarn and pull through both loops. Again, hole, pull through, and pull through. Now, it is much easier once you get past crocheting in the chains. The crocheting into our single crochet V's becomes much easier. The hook glides through there nicely. And as you can see, the color changing yarn helps you see which crochet stitch you're in. So, and what you're working on. It makes it a lot easier. And the best part is you get a pretty little finished product at the end. A lot of my students take these home and make bracelets or use them for bookmarks. And so your first project can be a finished project, which makes it lots of fun. All right. Okay, so I'm at the end again. This stitch is very confusing. Don't forget that stitch. We are going to count our stitches now. So let's count our stitches now that we've done our second row. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 stitches on this row. You may have a different number. I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to go into my first stitch. This is my chain right here. This is my first stitch, my first V. So don't forget about that first V and that last V. If you do forget about that first V and last V, what will happen is every time you forget an end stitch, it'll start to look like a pyramid because you're going to be losing stitches. So it helps to count your stitches every time you make a row. So let's make this row and we'll finish it off, and I'll show you how to finish your work. My next video is going to be on half double crochet and double crochet, which are 2 more stitches that you can add to your crocheting. And once we finish that, we're going to use our crochet stitches to make and read a pattern. All right, so here's my last stitch. Again, it's a funny little stitch, but I definitely don't want to miss that stitch. And there it is. So let's count our stitches again. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 stitches. Okay, to finish off our work, all we do is we chain 1 more time, but instead of turning our work, we're going to cut off our work, and you pull the loop out and it creates a knot. And there you have a nice little bookmark, or if you had a small enough wrist or longer chains, if you did about 20 chains, you probably would have a nice little bracelet. So this is your first piece. Congratulations. Be patient with yourself and look for my next video on half double crochet and double crochet to extend your crocheting repertoire.